Hi, Junior Church kids. Welcome to today's Bible story. Today's Bible story comes from the book of Mark, chapter 9, verses 2 through 29. And the story starts out by saying 6 days later. So 6 days later, Jesus took Peter, James, and John. So three of his disciples, Peter, James, and John. He took just those three and he went up on a high mountain. And they went up there, and then while they were there, something amazing happened. Jesus started shining, and there was all this bright light, so all the disciples could see was Jesus, and two men appeared there with Jesus. One was Moses, and one was Elijah. And if you remember, both of those characters, both of those men had not lived on earth for hundreds of years. Moses had been over 1,000 years before, and Elijah had been about 700 years before. And they all of a sudden were there with Jesus, talking to him. And the disciples were frightened, but all of a sudden Peter blurted out, "Jesus, it's good that we're here. I can build 3 tents for you. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." Well, Jesus pretty much ignored him. And after Peter had said that, all of a sudden a cloud came and just covered the mountain so they couldn't see anything. And out of the cloud, a voice came, and it was the voice of God the Father. And the voice said, "This is my son, and I love him. Obey him." This is my son, and I love him, obey him. So the disciples heard the voice, and then after the voice was gone, the cloud disappeared, and the disciples kind of readjusted their eyes, and they look, and there was Jesus standing just by himself. Moses and Elijah had disappeared. And they were kind of confused about what was going on, but they started walking back down the mountain with Jesus. And remember, it's a high mountain, so they have lots of time to talk because it's a long walk down. And Jesus turned to them and say, "Okay, you guys cannot tell anybody about what you just saw. You need to wait until I've risen from the dead. Then you can tell people. But right now it needs to be a secret." And so they're still kind of confused they don't understand how he's going to rise from the dead. And so they're kind of talking about with themselves. But then all of a sudden they realized they had another question for Jesus. And they said, "Jesus, why does the Bible say, and why does the teachers of law say that Elijah must come first?" And Jesus said that they are right. It said the teachers of the law are right to say that Elijah must come first because Elijah makes everything the way it should be. But what does he asked the disciples a question. They said, "What does the scripture say?" And the scripture means like the Old Testament, the Bible. "What does the scripture say that the Son of Man will suffer much and that people will treat him as if he were nothing?" So he kind of asks them that question, but doesn't really answer it. And they're just left to ponder it. And then Jesus tells them that Elijah has already come and people did to them whatever they wanted. And he said the reason all that happened was so that what the Bible and what the scriptures said would happen, that it would be true. And we'll talk about that more in lesson time because I know that's kind of confusing. So Jesus came down the mountain with Peter, James, and John. And when they got there, they went to the disciples, but the disciples had a big crowd around them and they were arguing with the teachers of the law. And Jesus came up and said, "What are you guys arguing about?" And a man stepped forward and said, "Jesus, I have my son here. He has an evil spirit living in him. And this evil spirit makes it so he can't talk. And this evil spirit throws him on the ground a lot. And I brought him to your disciples and asked them to get him out, and they couldn't do it." And Jesus turned to his disciples and said, "What am I going to do with you? Why do you keep not believing? And how long do I have to be patient with you?" And then he told the man, he said, "Bring your son to me." So the man brought his son to him, and Jesus said, and as soon as the evil spirits living inside the boy saw Jesus, they threw the boy on the ground and made him start rolling around, and he was foaming at the mouth. And Jesus turned to the father and he said, "How long has he been like this?" And the father said, "Since he was really young. Sometimes the demons even throw him in the fire or throw him in the water, trying to drown him and trying to kill him." And Jesus, and then the father said, "Please, if you can help him, I would really like you to help him." And Jesus said, "What do you mean if I can help him? Don't you believe?" And the father said, I believe. Please help me to believe more." And so Jesus had compassion on the father, and he turned to the boy and he cast the evil spirit out of him. And immediately the spirit kind of threw the boy on the ground again and then screamed, and then the spirit left him, and the boy was laying on the ground. It looked like he was dead because he was so still. And everybody in the crowd thought the boy was dead. But Jesus took the boy by the hand and helped him stand up, and the boy was fine. And and by the way, one other cool thing, Jesus told the evil spirit never to enter the boy again, so the boy would be safe for the rest of his life. But then Jesus' disciples said, why couldn't we get that evil spirit out of him? We tried. And Jesus said that a spirit like that can only be gotten rid of by prayer. So I don't know what the disciples were doing wrong, but that was Jesus' directions, that only by prayer can that kind of evil spirit come out. So we will talk about this more in lesson time.